She was the quietest person in the building. Everyone thought so. Nurse Dana Cole kept her head down. She kept her sleeves long. She kept her answers short. Nobody knew that 6 years ago, she had carried a dying man across 200 yards of open desert under fire. Nobody knew that the steady hands she used to start in 4 had once held a rifle steady at 400 meters. Nobody knew her real name had once been spoken over a secure radio channel, followed by a call sign that made grown men go quiet. Tonight, a gurney would roll through those doors, and a single word, whispered by a dying stranger, would end the life she had built to hide from. She didn't know that yet. She just knew her shift was starting. Before we get into it, welcome back to Silent Heroes. If you're watching this at 2 in the morning like half our community always is, drop a comment and tell us where you're tuned in from. And while you're at it, guess what Dana used to do before she picked up a stethoscope? Now, subscribe, because you do not want to miss where this one goes. Back to the story. Riverside County General wasn't a big hospital. It wasn't a famous one either. It sat on the edge of a town where everybody knew everybody, and the ER ran on coffee, gossip, and whoever happened to be on shift that night. Dana was 34. She had light brown eyes that gave nothing away, a thin white scar along her left forearm she always covered with her sleeve, and hands that never shook, not once, not even during the worst codes. She moved through hallways like she was trying not to take up space. Quiet steps, quiet voice, quiet everything. She had learned the fastest way to survive was to make herself small. She used a version of her middle name at work. She wore her hair pulled back so tight it changed the shape of her face. She never talked about family, never talked about weekends, never talked about anything before the year she'd supposedly moved from Ohio. It wasn't a lie so much as a wall, built brick by brick, and she had gotten very good at maintaining it. The one person who made that wall feel thin was Sheriff Wade Grissom. Grissom liked being seen. He liked walking into the ER like he owned the linoleum, chest out, thumbs in his belt, voice pitched just loud enough that everyone in triage could hear him. He had a habit, a favorite line, one he used on Dana more than anyone: "Just stand there and look useful, nurse. Let the professionals handle this." He said it the way some men say a joke they think is charming. He said it in front of patients. He said it in front of interns. He said it enough times that most of the staff had simply stopped reacting to it. Dana never reacted either. Not outwardly. There was ego under Grissom's badge, and everyone who worked the night shift long enough learned to see it. He wasn't corrupt, not that anyone could prove. He was just a man who had built a career on being the loudest voice in the room, and he did not like being questioned by anyone, least of all a nurse he'd decided was beneath his attention. Old Mr. Petrosky, a widower who came in twice a month for his heart medication, was the only one who ever said anything different. "You're not from Ohio," he told her once, squinting up at her over his reading glasses while she checked his blood pressure. "Ohio doesn't teach you to stand like that. Like you're waiting for something to go wrong." Dana had smiled and changed the subject. But she never forgot he'd said it. That night started like most others. Fluorescent lights humming. Waiting room half full. Grissom leaning against the nurse's station, recounting some arrest from earlier in the week to anyone who'd listen. Then the doors burst open. 2 paramedics came through fast, a gurney rattling between them, shouting vitals before they'd even cleared the threshold. Male, mid-30s, GSW to the abdomen, BP's dropping, we've got minimal response. Grissom straightened up immediately, stepping toward the gurney like he belonged there, like this was somehow his scene now instead of a trauma bay. "Everybody stay calm," he barked. "I need this area cleared." He was already wrong. He was calling for a clear room when the real priority was compressing the bleed, and every nurse in earshot could see it. Dana didn't say anything. She moved. She clocked the pallor in the man's face, the way his breathing had gone shallow and fast, the faint blue tint starting at his lips. Internal bleeding, probably a nicked vessel, maybe the femoral, maybe worse. Seconds mattered now, not minutes. That was when she heard it. The wounded man's hand shot out and grabbed her wrist. His eyes, glassy and losing focus, locked onto hers. "Reaper," he whispered. Is that you, Reaper?" The word hit the room like a detonation. Grissom froze mid-sentence. The paramedics exchanged a glance. Somewhere behind her, Dana heard Mr. Petrosky's chair creak as he sat up straighter, watching. "What did you call her?" Grissom demanded, his voice sharp now, the performance gone. "What is he talking about?" Dana said nothing. Her jaw tightened. Her sleeve had ridden up just enough to show the edge of the scar. The man on the gurney was still staring at her, blood loss pulling him toward unconsciousness, still whispering that name like it was the only thing keeping him tethered to the world. And for the first time in 6 years, Dana Cole did not know how to make herself small enough to disappear. For half a second Dana didn't move. 6 years of practiced invisibility told her to step back, let someone else take over, disappear into the wall like she always did. Instead, she stepped forward. "Move," she said. Not loud. Not a question. Grissom blocked her path. "You're a nurse. Not a trauma surgeon. Step back and let the doctor." "There's no time for the doctor." Her voice was flat now, stripped of the careful softness she'd worn for 6 years. "He's got a femoral bleed. If we don't control it in the next 90 seconds, he's gone." A femoral arterial bleed is one of the fastest ways to lose a patient. The femoral artery carries a huge volume of blood to the leg, and when it's nicked or torn, a person can lose enough blood to go into fatal shock in minutes. Direct, focused pressure, sometimes packing the wound and applying a tourniquet high on the thigh, is often the only thing that buys enough time to get someone into surgery alive. Dana already had gloves on. Her hands did not shake. Not once. She tore open a trauma pack, packed the wound with practiced pressure, and called out orders in short, clipped phrases. 2 units, Oneg now. Get me a tourniquet, high and tight. Somebody page surgery, tell them GSW, femoral, unstable. The ER staff moved. Not because Grissom told them to. Because she did. Grissom stood frozen at the edge of the bay, badge catching the fluorescent light, utterly sidelined by a woman he'd told to look useful 100 times. "Stand down," he finally barked, grabbing for authority he no longer had. "This is a crime scene, and you are not qualified to." "I am not standing down." Dana didn't look up from the wound. "He is bleeding out. Write me up after he's alive." The bleeding slowed under her hands. The monitor's rhythm steadied. Somewhere behind her, a resident whispered, "Who is she?" By morning, the hospital administrator had Dana in his office. Grissom was there too, arms crossed, already building his story. "She defied a direct order at an active scene," Grissom said. "I want her suspended pending investigation." Dana said nothing. "No," she finally said when the silence stretched too long. "I am just done hiding." The administrator suspended her anyway, effective immediately. Word moved through the hospital in an hour. By the time her badge was deactivated, a small crowd of nurses and orderlies had gathered in the hallway outside, murmuring, watching Grissom with something that had shifted from respect into open suspicion. 2 days later, a black government SUV pulled into the hospital lot. A man in a dress uniform walked through the ER doors like he'd walked through 100 rooms just like it. Colonel Reyes. He asked for Dana Cole by a name the hospital had never heard. "Staff Sergeant Dana Cole," he said, loud enough for the gathered staff, and Grissom, to hear. "Combat Medic 2 tours. Distinguished Service Cross. Bronze Star with Valor." Her call sign in the field was Reaper, because she never lost a man once she got her hands on him. The room went silent. Grissom's face drained of color. There's no way that's the same." "It's the same woman you suspended for saving a man's life," Reyes said, 3 days ago. Grissom opened his mouth, searching for something, anything. "I didn't know. Nobody told me." "That's the problem, Sheriff," Reyes said. "You never asked." The real story came out over the following week, And it wasn't about Dana at all. The man who'd been shot, the one who'd called her Reaper, turned out to be an investigator looking into a private ambulance contract Grissom had quietly steered toward his brother-in-law's company, a contract padded with false mileage reports and inflated equipment costs. The shooting hadn't been random. Someone connected to that contract had wanted him silenced before he could file his report. When Grissom realized the investigation was closing in on him personally, he made one last desperate move, showing up at Dana's apartment that night, demanding she hand over the man's belongings, including a flash drive the investigator had passed to her in the chaos of the ER. She didn't hand it over. What followed was fast, and it used every part of her, the medic and the soldier both. She subdued him without a weapon, using the same steady hands that had packed a bullet wound 3 nights before, and held him until deputies who actually still trusted her arrived. In the final struggle, one line kept repeating in her mind, something her old commanding officer used to say before every extraction: nobody gets left behind, not even the truth. It was the same thing he'd said the night she lost her spotter, the one loss she'd never spoken about to anyone. Tonight, for the first time, saying it out loud didn't hurt the way it used to. "Got it," she said quietly, once Grissom was in cuffs. "He has a chance now." Grissom was arrested on fraud and obstruction charges. He lost his badge, his pension under review, his name now attached to a county ethics reform bill colleagues started calling, quietly, Grissom's Law. Dana was reinstated within the week, and offered something more. The hospital board created a new position for her, Director of Emergency Field Response, a program training ER staff in combat-level trauma care. She didn't have to hide either version of herself anymore. Mr. Petrosky came in for his usual appointment not long after. He looked at her name badge, her real name, finally, and just smiled. "Ohio, huh," he said. "Never Ohio," she said, smiling back for the first time in years. People don't need a uniform to be brave. Sometimes the bravest people are standing quietly in the corner of a room, carrying more than anyone around them will ever know. The measure of a hero isn't how loud they are, it's what they do the moment everyone else freezes. If this story moved you, hit like, subscribe to Silent Heroes so you never miss the next one, and tell us in the comments, what do you think Dana's spotter would say if he could see her now? The next story is already waiting. The end.